What's up, everyone? So here today we're going to be presenting the OG slash Kush finalist list. This is actually something that I feel very happy about presenting to the people. And let me give a quick summary of what this actually is. This is a list of all of the different strains that are either a OG variant or are mixed with either OG or Kush. We have a lot of different Kushes in here, such as Triangle Kush we see 3 times within this list of 15 strains, but we also see a few different styles of OG, such as the Ghost OG. We see the OG coming from Josh D, which is supposedly the original one. So some really cool stuff within this list, a lot of gems, but let's get to presenting where these ones actually are going to fit in to this top 15 list. Starting off with number 15, we have the Good Old Days, and for number 14, we have the Billy Kimber. Number 13, we have the Triangle Kush coming from OG Everyone Smokes. The Billy Kimber is actually coming from the Hydro Boys. The Good Old Days coming from Nature Always Wins. Number 12 is going to be the Headband coming from J Plan Speaker. And number 11 is the Tractor Fuel. I feel like these 5 were very good honorable mentions to just add within the list to make it a list of 15. These ones right here got some lower scores. I think they all got scores that were lower than 7.5, but all of them very good within reason. Some of them were a little bit out of their price range in my humble opinion. I think that the J Plant Speaker one was very, very good, but if you watch the review, you can see why it got the score that it got. So that said, I do think these 5 very great honorable mentions. Let's get into the top 10 and give you a little bit more details on each individual strain. So let's get forward. Number 10, we have the James OG coming from Snowtill Organics. Snowtill Organics is a great grower. He's doing some amazing work with Kenny Powers Up and definitely doing some phenomenal stuff. I think that his style is very beautiful to see because it is able to get some amazing visuals, but also the stuff's very powerful. There's definitely some flaws to it. That's why it didn't get the highest of rankings in the world, but it's one thing that is interesting to try out at least. And honestly, this one was a OG that Snowtill actually got from some guy named James. That's why it's named James OG. So a little bit of a weird name behind it. Kind of baits the people in to think it's going to be one of those OGs that you're going to just be surprised you loved. But there's definitely some flaws. Also some very, very good strengths as well. So one that I would definitely recommend. It's well deserving of this spot, and I think that the looks on it, outstanding, it's beautiful. So definitely big thumbs up there. That would move us on to the SFZ. What this actually is the SFV crossed with Skittles. So as much as this one may not deserve to be in a list of just pure OGs, because it's definitely not that, it is definitely something that you can kind of see the OG bleed through a little bit on. It's definitely going to be leaning much more to that Skittles side, and honestly, I almost thought it was just Skittles, kind of, but you can kind of see the SFV, kind of. So this one fits into the list. It's definitely one that didn't get the most outstanding best overall in the world, but it's definitely something that I think is deserving to just mention at least. Which moves us on to the Sour Fuel. The Sour Fuel is actually the SFV crossed with Sour, which It's wild because some people are actually using this exact flour and putting it into sour diesel bags, and I think that's some wild stuff to do, but you can kind of see why someone's doing it when you get to taste it. Sour fuel is a great name for it. It's definitely going to have this sourish, gassy, very musky, but in a good way taste. It's definitely something that's going to impress most people, and it's actually going to have this sour dieselish taste, so I can kind of see why someone could go as far as putting it into a bag and pretending it is sour diesel. As not good as that is, it's not a surprise with the way that this actually tastes. So that moves us on to the Ghost OG. Ghost OG is actually going to be coming from Greasy Couture. This one right here, I honestly wasn't a mega fan of. I've just had a recent batch of Ghost OG that's going to be placing much higher than this one, but this one I would actually say is pretty good compared to a lot of the commercialized stuff nowadays. This is definitely something that's going to outsmoke a lot of that, and it's definitely well deserving of at least mentioning within this list. That moves us on to the Triangle Kush. The Triangle Kush, this batch is actually coming from KF Craft Organics. Honestly, there's definitely some flaws with this one as well. I'm gonna have to say that it's not a flaw that is going to hold it back in a major way. It's still going to be able to get a high enough score that's going to make it really make sense for this one to get number 5 in this list right here, which honestly I would have to say some people might disagree with. I truly think that it's a fair enough score that I feel confident in giving it to it. This would move us on to number 4. Number 4 right here is going to be the RBK. RBK is the Ricky's Brothers Kush. This one right here is a pheno of the OG Kush that Ricky's brother, not really sure who Ricky is, never met him, but he was very in love with this one. So it was his pheno, and for some reason he was smart enough to pick this one because this was one of the best phenos of OG ever. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's a very cushy strain, and what that means is it's definitely going to be more of a punch you in the face type of strain. There's going to be a lot of Kush or even OG nowadays that's not really going to have effects, but this is going to have an effect. It's almost going to get you drunk. It's almost going to have you almost in this trance of happiness, but focused at the same time unfocused. It's so strange to say, focused but unfocused. I think everyone that smoked it will understand what I mean. It's a drunkish feeling, which kind of makes more sense. But the RBK, I actually got a bunch of smalls for this one. Unfortunate. Sometimes different middlemen, growers, brands, whatever, don't do great business. So I'm not going to say that Josh D played into that. I'm not going to mention exactly who gave me the smalls. Is what it is. Definitely think this one would have placed much higher if I actually was able to get a fair shake at it. So this is something I do still feel strongly and passionate about giving it a 4th place ranking on this list. I think it's well deserving. I think it's actually going to be miles ahead of some of the things that even might have ranked above it if it was full-size notes. That moves us on to 4th place, and what we actually have at place number 4 is going to be the Ghost OG coming from No Broke Smoke. I thought this one was amazing. This was probably the best batch of Ghost OG I've ever seen. Definitely the best I've ever smoked. And honestly, Ghost OG is one of those ones that I actually slept on a lot before. I've had some terrible versions of it. This is definitely not that. This one has a lot of potential. I think that it could even get a higher ranking if I was able to see it actually get a better score in the looks, get a better score in the taste. It probably could deliver a better score in the taste, but when it comes to the looks, I think that's one huge thing that kind of held back the last batch that I had. And honestly, I think that's not necessarily a huge down, like a bad thing about it. I think that the looks is one of the things that matters the least at the end of the day, unless it's overly trimmed to the point where they're trimming off some of the values. And I think this one definitely wasn't machine trimmed. It just seems like it was a little bit over trimmed, which is sadly going to have to get it a little bit lower of a ranking, and that's honestly what kind of held it back from maybe even being the third place winner. But fourth place, very fair. Moves us on to third place though, which actually is going to be the Sour Kush coming from 7 Star Mantis. I thought this one was actually surprisingly really good. Honestly, I thought that there's definitely some things that I wasn't super attracted to about it, but overall, I just can't even see really anything that I was super displeased with. I'm almost sure that the Sour Kush is basically the same as Headband, basically Headband if I'm not mistaken, but Sour Kush is OG times Sour Diesel, and it was something that I definitely was happy with. It was definitely something I was happy with. I could be wrong about the genetics. It could be some other variation of OG times Sour. Either which way, Sour Kush, definitely something that I was surprised it was that good. It was also just incredibly beautiful. So that's part of the reason why it got such a amazingly perfect ranking. This definitely is something that leads us to number 2 though. And honestly, number 2 is a strain that we've seen already on this list before. This is going to be the Triangle Kush. This time, it's going to be coming from Bronson. Bronson did an amazing job. I think this actually got an overall ranking of like a 9, which is, I try to make rare for the rankings that I give. I try to never give anything like a hyped ranking. I try to be fair with everything, just enough that people will understand there is levels. There's levels to everything. You can't just hype everything up just to get handouts in the future. And this right here, amazing. Honestly amazing. I think that this was miles ahead of a lot of the other triangle kushes that I see around. A lot of the other times people are missing big factors in their triangle kush, but if you go try the Bronson's one, you're able to see that he was able to ace it and do it in a way that is actually gonna smoke very effective too. Definitely very effective. So that's gonna move us on to number 1.
Before we announce the actual final place winner, I wanted to announce the giveaway winner that I will be giving away some cool prizes too. I'm actually going to be picking 2 different winners in this because I wanted to spread the love, share as much as I possibly can. So here is going to be the winner of the biggest prize right here. Owen K. Owen K, I need you to actually message me within the next 24 hours. I hope you see this video within the next 24 hours. You have until then to confirm your prize. If you do not confirm the prize, it will be spun again so that we can continuously keep making sure the real supporters are getting gifted the prizes they deserve. But let's see. Should we spin it one more time? We're going to be spinning it at the very end. Make sure you follow along.
Number 1 is a strain that a lot of people could probably already assume now. It's something that I was beyond impressed with, and it was definitely by far the best OG pheno I've ever seen, smelled, tasted, and definitely the best one I've ever got to smoke. It's definitely the most powerful OG I've ever been able to experience. And way back in a few years ago, I was able to have some marathon OG that was amazing. But this OG that I'm speaking about right now is from the GOAT himself, Josh D's OG Kush Story. It's technically the OG KS, is what you would see on the abbreviation if you ever got the package. But wow, wow. This stuff right here is going to have you drunk. And I have said that before. I've said that before about some certain OGs is it will have you drunk. But I think this is the one that will really show you what I'm talking about. It's gonna have you in this state of, it's hard to explain. It's just so potent. It's so potent, but it's also something that is very long lasting. It's very much something that is going to smoke very smoothly. Everything about it checks off the boxes, but realistically, I think the selling factor about something like that is the effects. The effects are just out of this world. It is definitely something that I can best describe as maybe a maybe a how should I say this? Maybe a drunk feeling, but at the same time, I really do think that it's like its own feeling. It's own feeling, and once you get to experience it, you will see it is beyond anything else. When you try OG Kush, it is it's hard to explain. It's very hard to explain. I feel like I'm doing it no justice at the moment by just wasting air. But what I do want to mention when it comes to the Josh D's one, that one, it is extremely noticeable, the effects. Extremely noticeable, the effects being so different, even from the smallest little amount that you get to smoke. Say if you just grab an eighth and you're trying to conserve it, you smoking stuff out of the bong, you're gonna be fried off just one hit, which is what real OG should be able to do. A lot of the stuff nowadays, it's just hot air balloons, and it's sad to see. It's also something that we have control over changing. So I hope that things like this give people that boot to the ass that they need to try to help make those changes. Because there's definitely people like me who are going to make sure it gets seen through. Whether or not I have to sacrifice time, whatever, it's gonna happen. So much love and respect to anyone who helps make this happen.